and here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everyone, / good early morning. Taking a live look from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Can you tell it's a late night? Because we have a launch coming up. Well, technically, 2 Falcon 9 related events happening in the next hour and 15 minutes. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host for tonight. Hopefully, you guys who are here maybe to see the second stage, if we have any view of it, impacting the moon, will stick around because we also have Falcon 9 launching Bluebirds 11, 12, and 13 into space. As always, I am not alone for this. Joining me as well on commentary tonight, as you see the moon currently from Florida, which is a bit clouded out at the moment, but we have Max Evans down there. Max, any chance of this thing poking out maybe from our Florida cameras at least?
Well, good morning, everybody. I mean, this is the most that we have seen of it all morning and all night so far. So we could get lucky and find a break in the clouds or just a window big enough just for a few seconds. But probably not. I'm not holding my breath, Sawyer. I'm not holding my breath, but we could get lucky. But I do believe we have some other cameras, I believe in Starbase, that do have a view of the moon at the moment. So maybe we'll get lucky here, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, fret not. As you can see on the left side of your screen, that's the live look over at Starbase Live, where we have our 24/7 cameras at SpaceX's facility down there, watching all their Starship action. But we do have a camera, as you can see there, pointed at the moon. It is gaining altitude, so we're going to hopefully be able to keep one of those centered in the frame as it gets closer to that impact point, which, for those wondering, it's supposed to be approximately 7 minutes or so from now, and it will be trying to figure out from this view, it's kind of going to be towards the bottom left, if I'm looking at it right. Bottom left, middle-ish area. It's kind of right along that Terminator line. So it's going to be interesting to see if we see anything. Of course, we are going to keep an eye on that. I also want to mention that in the field, we also have D. Wise and Jerry Pike, both out bringing views. D trying to get the moonshot through the clouds, but if not, both of them will be providing views for the Falcon 9 launch happening tonight. And a reminder, we are an hour and 13 minutes away from that launch of a Falcon 9. You can see it on the right side of your screen there from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida at Space Launch Complex 40. And a huge thank you to Jay Keegan, who will be pushing the buttons, pulling the levers tonight for getting all of those different feeds and views on there. And Chris Bergen will be very happy because it's an unintentional 5-box. So,
yeah,
Max,
oh my God, that's true.
You and I were at the launch of the Falcon 9 second stage that is on its way to the moon. And in fact, ironically, the payload that it delivered was the first successful commercial lander, basically as part of the CLIPS program for NASA, to land upright and successfully.
Yes, so if we turn the clock back all the way to January 15th of 2025, just last year, about a year and a half ago, a little more, a Falcon 9 rocket launched both the Firefly Blue Ghost Mission 1 and the Hakuto R Mission number 2 lander named Resilience. After 3 months, Blue Ghost landed on the moon successfully, and then not too terribly long after, a few months afterwards, so did the Mission 2 lander Resilience. Now, the reason why the upper stage is now on course, a collision course for the moon, is that to save energy it was a much more energy efficient orbit to send Falcon 9 into a highly elliptical orbit to use a lot less fuel and energy to get both vehicles out to the moon. Actually, scratch that. It was a lot. It was a lot more efficient for the Japanese lander, Brazilians, because actually after spacecraft separation, Blue Ghost Mission 1 actually did end up performing its own separate TLI burn with its onboard thruster, but the highly elliptical orbit was meant to deliver resilience it was going to take it a lot longer period of time to get it to the moon, because these spacecraft did not have enough propellant on board to make it to the moon, but using the wizardry of orbital mechanics, it sent it into a highly elliptical orbit to get it to the moon, and it eventually did a few months later. Now, over time, the gravity from both the moon and the Earth had altered the upper stage of Falcon 9 through just enough over time to, I guess, align Falcon 9's upper stage with the lunar surface at a point in time, and that point in time is about 3.5 minutes away. So over the course of about I think 19 or so months, 19, 20 months, I guess we have our very own, wannabe DART mission with sending a Falcon 9 upper stage into the moon. So in terms of visibility from the ground, I think it's going to be fairly limited to the naked eye. But if you have a telescope, I believe assuming you have good weather, like unfortunately we don't here in Florida at the moment, I believe over the course of a few minutes, you may have some visual of the ejecta from the stage hitting the surface of the moon. And the reason why that is because the Falcon 9 upper stage will be traveling at about 5,400 miles an hour, or about 8,700 kilometers an hour, directly towards the lunar surface. At that speed, I believe they are estimating a crater of anywhere from 12 to 16 feet in depth, and about 30 meters across, I want to say, somewhere in there. It's going to be a big crater. But yeah, it's going to be a very energetic, observation or occurrence. But whether or not we will actually see it here in Florida is a big question. But for those of you who are watching the stream right now, go outside, please, because we are about a minute and 45 seconds away or so from the intentional or not intentional, but the impact of Falcon 9's upper stage onto the moon. So getting close now.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out on the side of the moon there to see if we can see anything. A reminder, this isn't the first time this has ever happened.
Yes.
All the Apollo missions, upper stages, ended up crashing into the moon, which was especially helpful once they added seismometers on there, so they could measure basically how it shakes, and you also get a better understanding of what the moon could look like underneath based off of how those waves bounce as it does so. This is also not the first mission to crash one into it. More recently, there was the LRO L-Cross mission, which intentionally crashed the L-Cross part into the moon as the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, was orbiting overhead. Fun fact, LRO is A, still working, and B, going to try and capture it as well. Again, all of that assuming it's in the right spot and the conditions are right. The other one that's going to be keeping an eye on it is the KPLO, which was Korea's orbiter. Ironically, launched also on a Falcon 9.
Yes, it did.
Man, you gotta love all of the Falcon 9 coming back from years and years ago. I say years and years ago. The moon mission was last year. KPLO was 2.5, 3 years ago, I think. So
I think it was actually 4 years ago, Sawyer. I think that was back in 2022. Yes, I think I was actually a feature of a double header for the Cape, the first in a long time. I think there was the last ever 400 series Atlas flying from the Cape that morning, and then later in the afternoon, there was KPLO. So fun times.
You're right. Yeah, that was one of the early. I think that was only like the second ever double header of the Falcon era at the Cape.
I think that was actually the first. I want to say that was the first. Because I remember there was a call out on SpaceX comms. LD is go for 2 and 24, and it was a big event because that hadn't happened in decades, like since the Gemini program. So that's why it was a really big deal.
It really was, and now it became sort of regular. It's going to be less regular for a short time as they back down on Falcon 9 flights, given that they now only have one drone ship. And we've only seen them launching once or twice a week instead of 3-4 times. So I don't know. We'll have to see what ends up happening there. We should be coming up on the time, by the way, approximately of impact. So I think at this point, we're just going to keep an eye on it, see if we see anything. If anyone is outside watching it right now or has a view of it, definitely go ahead and share it with us on the socials. We're on pretty much all of them: X, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram. You can tag us on any of them and we'll see it, because I do want to see if anyone's able to see any of it.
I know there are a ton of people who are actually out tonight with very, very powerful telescopes, and I have some very good friends out trying to look for it tonight, and I know they have clear skies, so I'm very curious to see what they end up capturing.
Same. And the crazy thing about this is we know that it's somewhat of its mass as it's going to impact, because it's pretty much empty at this point. But
Yes.
we're talking ejecta that can be anywhere from 30 meters to 300 meters, depending on the impact, the location, and all of that. And with it being near the black area of space behind it, hopefully that means we get a good view. Look at the clouds starting to clear out a bit. This, I believe, is our Florida view.
I believe so. You can just make out some detail there in the lunar surface. And I think if we time-lapse this, we may be able to see some of the ejecta. It should be on sort of the lower left-hand side of your screen. There is where the stage would be about impacting the surface. But yeah, it's not something that we'll see, obviously, on here on the ground. It maybe time-lapse it and trying to get a look of how the ejecta behaves, if we even have a view of it. But the moon is very unique because obviously there is no atmosphere and the gravity is only 1/6 as powerful as here on Earth. So the ejecta can go very, very far.
And again, a reminder, that doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to see it. That was the crazy thing with L-Cross. Same thing. They were telling people to go out and look for it. There was a NASA live stream of it. And it was like you dropped a rock into a bucket of flour. It wasn't crazy, but I mean, it was there, but it's like, I remember staying up again. It was another like 3 a.m. one like today going, that was it? Why did I stay up for that?
Yeah, it really gives just some perspective. Just even though the moon is a fraction the size of Earth, just how big it still really is compared to the hardware that is on the surface. Being now, hopefully, or by this time, it should be the Falcon 9 upper stage, and of course, all the hardware from previous landers and throughout the entire Apollo program.
Exactly. And I was reading somewhere that as much as it seems like, oh my gosh, more space junk, things like that, we're going to do stuff to the moon. It's really not that big of a deal. Apparently, something with the same mass and area roughly of a Falcon 9 second stage impacts the moon once a week. So it's not like this is such a rare occasion that, oh my gosh, something that big's going to hit the moon. I think the rarity feature is that it was a Falcon 9 upper stage, and also one that really wasn't supposed to be a lunar impact, but science, I guess, from it.
Science, I guess?
Because science, yeah, they totally meant to do that. Totally no gravitational and solar wind effects at all on its trajectory as it was supposed to come back and burn
100%. 100% intentional, Sawyer. Yes.
Absolutely. We're going to keep an eye on it. So everyone keep watching. If you see something, let me know in chat. All of this while we wait for the Bluebird 11, 12, and 13 launch in about an hour and 2 minutes from now, which as we watch the moon, this one won't be going to the moon tonight's launch, but it will be delivering 3 satellites into space for AST Space Mobile as part of their broadband constellation that they are building in orbit. Of course, the clouds starting to roll back in if they can stay out of the way just long enough. Let's see if we can see anything. And again, there's no guarantee that we will see anything, but we're sure as heck trying. NFD is working on it right now. It's D-Wise operating the super zoomed in. I believe this is attached to a telescope, if I'm not mistaken, Max.
It is. I think the telescope specs, I think it's around a 4,000 millimeter equivalent, which is a lot of focal length for those who don't know what that means. So it's a very, very powerful telescope and on a very, very powerful and capable camera. So hopefully we do see something. Yeah, oh man, my eyes keep playing tricks on me whether or not I see something above the lunar horizon there, or there being a change of shape or flash in the regolith there on the lit side of the moon, or if that's just the clouds. But I do wonder. I guess
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see if anybody else on socials has seen it or gotten imagery of it.
yeah, I'm wondering too, or if there's any confirmation anywhere on X or something that it has impacted. Haven't seen anything yet, but keep an eye on it because we got plenty more time with you folks. We still have just over an hour to go until the launch of Falcon 9. And everything seems to be proceeding towards that. The Brevard Emergency Operations Center is active, as is typically the case before a launch. Obviously, as we saw earlier, the rocket is out at the launch pad. And it's worth noting, Jay pointing out in the back channel, as we continue to keep an eye on the moon just in case, all the impact times were approximate. They were predictions, as they also predicted this thing was supposed to burn up as intended originally. So
Yes.
predictions can be slightly off. Just saying.
Yeah, not even the fine art or fine, what's the word I'm thinking of? Witchcraft of orbital mechanics is not always 100% accurate, and gravity can do what it likes at the end of the day because we just work with the laws of physics. We cannot break them.
By the way, I saw someone saying that that we're pointing at the wrong side of the moon. I believe the image is flipped. So this is actually, based on where the Terminator line is, roughly the area we should still be looking at. Where that Falcon 9 upper stage should, in theory, be impacting. Again, there's no guarantee that we would see it. But, yeah. We're still looking just in case. I guess while we continue to wait in the meantime, in case we do see something, might as well talk about the mission today real quick. Of course, we'll go into more in-depth as we go on through the next hour. And if you have questions, by the way, you could text at NASA Spaceplate or at NSF. And we try to answer your questions as we go through all of our streams, in particular, the launch tonight as well. So, tonight's mission will be carrying 3 of those Bluebird satellites, 11, 12, and 13. These are continuing the constellation that they have been working on for quite a while now. They had their version 1, their Block 1 satellites that went up. Then for the Bluebird 6 mission, they went for their new upgraded one that they are continuing to launch again tonight. This one has a huge antenna on each of them that is about 2,400 square feet once deployed, or about 223 square meters.
I'm sorry to laugh there. That was too funny. 230.
Yeah. So this one will join 6, 8, 9, and 10. And for those of you who wanted the funny number, blame Blue Origin. 7 was supposed to launch. 7 launched on one of the early flights of New Glenn, and due to an issue, it did not make it into its proper orbit and disintegrated shortly after. So these next ones are quite needed.
That was harsh, Sawyer. Come on.
I to stop people from doing the meme, they helped me out with that because there isn't a 7 that would follow the other number. It's just 6, 8, 9.
This is true.
But yeah, so those will be continuing to join those. They are working on a really large network. The goal is basically to deliver internet and cell coverage straight from satellites to smartphones. Right now, they're expecting to be able to provide almost 200 megabits per second, up from the 100 from their Block 1s that they've been testing. And according to the company, they plan to be in beta phase potentially by the end of the year for people to actually use it to get the broadband and communication services from these satellites from AST Space. And for what I've seen, there's already a lot of other satellites in the works on this one, including the next 3, which will probably be launching on a Falcon 9 in the next couple of months. And according to AST Space Mobile in a recent X post, apparently they are proceeding, or production has advanced now through Bluebird Satellite 42.
Wow.
So, the answer to life, the universe, and everything apparently coming down the line. But Max, the other interesting thing is the booster that you see on the right side of the screen. As we continue to watch the moon there, this booster is about to join a very esteemed club, if I'm right.
Indeed it is. So this is booster B1077, and that exclusive club that Sawyer is referring to is the 30 Flight and Over Club, as this would be 1077's 30th assigned flight to date, having flown 49 days ago. In terms of flight history, that includes the likes of Crew 5, GPS-3 SV06, Inmarsat I6F2, CRS-28, Intelsat G37, and G20, TD7, Bluebird 8 through 10, and 21 previous Starlink missions. So an esteemed veteran by any stretch of the imagination. Now, heading on its northeast trajectory, hopefully at about 8.5 minutes into flight, the booster will meet the recovery drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas, because that's all we have left here on the east coast of Florida since the Falcon retirement of Just Read the Instructions, unfortunately. And about 100 kilometers farther downrange is the fairing recovery vessel Doug, aiming to scoop those fairing halves out of the Atlantic Ocean to be scooped up, refurbed, and flown again, hopefully in not too long from now. So, yes, Sawyer, this is the next booster to join the 30 Flight Club, and it's becoming. Honestly, I have to say, it is promising to see a full commercial payload flying on such a well-flown booster at this point, because that just proves how reliable Falcon 9 has become, or has proven itself to be at this point. Because there's only a handful of boosters at or above 30 flights now, including the fleets here on the east coast of Florida and on the west coast over at Vandenberg. So for them to throw a payload of this, I guess, magnitude on such a well-flown Falcon 9, I guess bodes a lot of confidence in Falcon 9 right now as it stands. And I don't want to say it's a shame, but Falcon 9 launch cadence is beginning to be dialed back a bit, certainly here in Florida towards the end of the year, as SpaceX is currently all in on Starship. So we're not seeing Falcon 9 quite as often as we used to anymore. So we are taking every bit of these launches as much as we can get.
Yeah, I mean, the late night Starlinks really do be hitting different, because we haven't had a late night Starlink, it feels like, in weeks, if not longer.
I think, you know what, I think that's going to keep up, Sawyer, because I don't see. I think there's one. I'm looking at next space flight right now, and I only see a singular Cape Starlink mission on the launch dock or on the roster right now, and that is Starlink Group 1019 coming next Monday at 10:49 a.m. So we'll have to see how many more they launch for the rest of the year after that. But of course, we do have other Falcon missions, big Falcon missions, coming up towards the end of the year now. Golly, we're already in August, which is kind of scary. I think one of the most esteemed, or I guess popular, is the launch of Crew 13, which is currently net or no earlier than slated for September 12th. I believe it's at 6:30 p.m. or so Eastern time. So a decent time of day for a crew launch, although that is right in the window of some not so great afternoon weather, but we will have to wait and see what that brings. But yeah, we are not seeing Falcon 9 fly as often as we used to. It's a really strange sight and feeling, I do have to say.
Yeah, Butch, by the way, asking when the next crew launch is. In case you didn't know, over on AskTheSpaceflight.com, I got to talk with one of the Crew 13 astronauts yesterday, do an interview with him, and you can read up on that on the website as well. But, I mean, yeah, it's so weird looking at it and going, ooh, a Starlink. Oh, that's Vandenberg. Oh, that's Vandenberg. Oh, that's Vandenberg. Wait, where's the Cape?
Yeah, actually. I mean, Vandenberg has been absolutely killing it lately with their launch cadence. I think they may actually have a majority of the flights of Falcon 9 this year. Because I think Cape right now overall, I think, is around 50 flights this year. And Vandenberg, I think, is around 40. And we're only in August, and there's still a lot of time left to go. So Vandenberg actually may have the advantage for the first time ever in terms of launch cadence for Falcon 9 for SpaceX. But that may be short-lived, I guess, or I guess depending on how many more satellites SpaceX wants to deploy for the constellations launching from Vandenberg. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see what that brings. But Starship is going. I think Starship is the next step here for Florida operations, and that will hopefully arrive here and I guess get into motion before the end of the year if all goes well.
Yeah, I mean, based off what Elon's been posting on X, we should get the first operational Starlink mission on Flight 14. So, like, the first operational Starlink flight from somewhere that isn't Cape Canaveral or Vandenberg.
Yeah. So, and that should be, I think he was saying end of the month. So I think probably around roughly time frame last week of August, I think is what the current time frame would, I guess, assume to be. I would not be surprised though if that slips into the first week of August or of September. But I would not expect much of a slip beyond that because they have really shown how rapidly they can pick up operations with Starship and Starbase between cryo testing, static fire testing with both booster and ship, and also just getting the vehicles rolled out from the production site and stacked over at the launch site ready for a launch attempt. So, yeah, I think that the days of hearing like a projected launch window and going, nah, it'll push another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, are gone. So I think now when we hear a targeted window or I guess time to launch, I think we can assume that we're within roughly a week of that, unless something major is seen in Starbase, whether there being a malfunction with the ship or anything else there. I think we can expect. I would not rule out a Flight 14 being before the end of the month. I will say that.
Which is still mind-boggling to me at the pace of that, but
100%.
Yeah, that will definitely help pick up the pace. I was going to say something and I totally blanked on what I was going to say about it. So those late night launches do be hitting different, I tell you.
They certainly do. Good Lord.
I'll see if it comes back to me as we reach 50 minutes to go until T0. Oh, I remember what it was.
Uh-oh.
Murphy's Law, it's going to coincide around one of those two major launches coming up. Because as of right now, August 30th is the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope aboard a Falcon Heavy from Launch Complex 39A. And then, as you mentioned, Crew 13 on September 12th. That's from LZ40. So,
yes.
Or from SIG-40 and landing at LZ40.
Yeah.
Sorry, brain.
No, I mean, I would not. I don't know what it is about Starship wanting to launch around a major NASA science mission. I mean, we of course saw this with the launch and catch, the first ever catch on Starship Flight 5, with the first ever catch of a Super Heavy booster, and now Starship Flight 14 potentially being the first catch, at least the first attempt to catch a ship from orbit, being right next to the launch of the Nancy Grace Roman Telescope potentially. That would suck. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to be here for Roman. But we will have to wait and see what the schedule holds because we are, of course, at its mercy.
You want to be there for Roman? I don't know. It's all Greek to me.
Goodness gracious.
Let me thank some people here, and then we'll get back to more of your questions at NSF, at NASA Spaceflight in chat. I know it's a weird hour, but it's cool having all of you with us here watching this. Let's see. Fluffy saying, dang it, I am sleepy and have a meeting in 7 hours. Boo SpaceX, but also blaming Jack. I'm not finishing the last part of that sentence. We can blame Jack.
I feel you on the sleep there and of course being up at this hour. All it takes is literally one launch, but after like 2:30 a.m. and your sleep schedule is ruined for at least a week. I'm still recovering from the NRO mission last week, which was at about, I think it was 3:09 a.m. And this one's launching, of course, later than that. So I think my sleep schedule for at least the next couple of weeks is going to be askew.
Yeah, Jerry, you and me were all out there for that one. So all of our schedules just as equally messed up. Fares on the rise. NSF, your unintentional scheduling genius knows no bounds. Thank you. Yes, in 2025, when the second stage launched, we intentionally planned it so that we would have all other kinds of coverage and things happening at the same time. And then Alex Plant, thank you for upgrading to a Red Team membership. Very much appreciate that. Let's see. Is there a place we can get info on the impact? I haven't seen any info on it yet. I also haven't seen, from quickly browsing through social media, I haven't seen anyone that has actually seen anything with their own naked eyes. Speaking of seeing things with your naked eyes, Max, we haven't talked about the launch weather. Of course, we saw the clouds, but how's it looking for tonight's Bluebird launch?
Well, as you saw through the telescope feed earlier, it is a bit cloudy here this morning, and there is not even the slightest hint of wind, and the air is incredibly dense. It's like trying to talk through and like move through soup. It's genuinely I think this is the worst I've felt in quite a long time in terms of humidity and just temperature being right around the dew point. It's pretty disgusting out here, not going to lie. But in terms of what Falcon 9 can launch in, we are well within the boundaries of what it can handle. With the clouds notwithstanding, the PGO, or the percentage of go, according to the forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron, is about 85% favorable, or about 15% not favorable, for the launch weather tonight. And the primary concerns being the anvil cloud rule, the thick cloud layers rule, and the cumulus cloud rule. And I can confirm with the Mark 1 eyeballs, there are certainly some clouds in the area, but I'm keeping a very close eye on the radar to see if anything pops up. But right now, I think we are looking A-okay for now. But I think we're looking pretty good, I think, for the launch window tonight, even though I think, how long is the launch window tonight? I should know this. I just checked it. I should know this. It is, standby caller.
It's a little over an hour.
Yeah, a little over an hour. So should they need it, they have some time to work with. But we are coming up on T-minus 45 minutes, and we're about 8 minutes or about 7 minutes away from the go, no-go poll being either, I guess, go or not go to proceed with propellant loading, which will start in about 10 minutes' time at the T-minus 35-minute marker. So until they begin fueling the vehicle, they can use as much of the window as they need. But if they do begin propellant load on the vehicle, they are then committed to that first targeted T0 that they have their eyes on. So, but I'm looking at the radar. There is some rain inland, and there is some rain out over the Atlantic Ocean. I was seeing some lightning over the Atlantic when I pulled up a few hours ago here at the KSC press site, but that is all heading away from us and is not. I think it is not giving us any trouble at the moment here, nor is it a concern for launch operations. So looking good tonight weather-wise for Falcon, but oh my goodness, is it pretty disgusting to be in. I have to be honest.
Yeah, it's super thick out there tonight. It's one of those where, I don't know if it's been the same view with Central Florida, but me in South Florida, the rain has been torrential lately.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to pull a full dad thing and be like, we needed it. But we were genuinely in a pretty good drought in the first half of the year. And it was a pretty dry winter here as well. We didn't get much rain. So the area was definitely needing some water and some precipitation. And it has been raining, I guess, more or less nonstop in the afternoon. Every afternoon for the past 3 weeks or so. I remember it was literally the day after I left for Starbase for Flight 13, a nasty shelf cloud I saw wash over KSC on Space Coast Live, and it's been raining every single afternoon since. And today was certainly no exception, as we had a pretty strong storm earlier in the afternoon, and had some rain dumped on us, and that's been a theme for the last few weeks. But we have needed it, but that does make for some rather humid conditions.
Yeah, you're not kidding. But at least for these night launches / early morning launches, it's less of an issue as it's going to be. So we get to some of the more daytime-esque launches on the schedule, which you pointed out.
Yes.
The next Starlink mission is at 10:50 a.m., so not as bad. But then the Globalstar 2R, that's going to be at 9 p.m. Of course, Crew is at that weird hour at the night of like 6:30, which I know it's not weird to most people, but weather-wise, it's very weird.
Yeah,
So,
it's certainly definitely in the questionable area. And the thing about crewed launch windows, since it's instantaneous, if they have to push a day, the launch window moves left or earlier by about 22 minutes every single day. And the window for iffy weather begins at around roughly 2 p.m., with maybe 3 p.m. some days here in Central Florida at least. So unless they end up pushing by a couple of weeks, which I hope they don't, and I don't think they will, they are in an area where they are pretty susceptible to some nasty weather. But such is the case with being in Central Florida at this time of year. But we will see what happens. But 6:30 p.m. is a nice time to be out. Normally, we are certainly chuffed to see that time of day for us to work. And but also the Nancy Grace Roman Telescope, which is the next Falcon Heavy mission slated for net or no earlier than August 30th, is launching at 7:26 a.m. local time. So just after sunrise here. So we have a sunrise Falcon Heavy coming up, folks. That is going to be absolutely wonderful. But again, mornings here can be pretty dewy and pretty misty. So it could be either very pretty or it'll be very fog dense, and we will end up with a case like USSF 44 and not see it whatsoever. So hoping for the former there, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I don't know. It'd be cool if we got jellyfish for a Falcon Heavy early in the morning. We had one Falcon Heavy mission, I think it was, that was jellyfish, if I'm or had that kind of light to it.
It was USSF 67. It was the one after 44, and that launched just after sunset. And we had the wonderful like tri jelly. So we had the center core coming down towards the horizon, with its exhaust being lit, and then of course we had both side boosters performing their boost back burns, and of course those were also being lit by the sun. So we had this incredible like three-pillared shape just taking up almost the entire sky above us to the east. It was magnificent, and we could track the boosters pretty much all the way back to the LZ because they were of course still in the sun for a lot of their travel. But it's rare to get a Falcon Heavy at a pretty time of day like that for sure.
Yeah, I remember that one so vividly. It was me and Chris Gebhardt for NSF at the time out there.
Dang it, that makes me feel old.
You're telling me this month is my 4-year anniversary here.
Is today really your 4-year?
It's 2 weeks from now, but yeah.
Oh, what? You said it was today, and now it's 2 weeks from now.
I said this month.
Did you?
Yes.
Maybe I just can't hear.
I said this month.
Maybe I just can't hear. I don't know.
But yeah, regardless, now I feel older even, so that's awesome. But speaking of jellyfish, we do have a nearly full moon tonight. I believe full moon was actually the NROL launch. So Butch Fraser is wondering, do you think we will have a moon jellyfish?
I guess for one thing, I think that will greatly depend on where you are and what the weather is like, and if you even have a view of the moon, or the trajectory as it is heading out towards the northeast. But I think it's about half lit right now. It might still be a gibbous. It looks about half if I have to judge it with my eyeballs directly. But it's still obviously very bright, being very high in the sky. So we may get some accentuated detail and light on Falcon 9's upper stage plume with the MVAC. So maybe a little bit, but obviously it's not full. It's not at its full brightness. And for us, at least here at the Kennedy Space Center, looking out towards the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, there is a layer of clouds above us tonight as well. So that will obscure viewing for us just that little bit. So we probably won't be able to see it that well for ourselves. But if you are north of the pad, or south of the pad even, but mostly north, and you have clear skies, you might have a bit of an easier time trying to find it because of the moon. So maybe.
And just a heads up, by the way, while you were talking, SpaceX has pushed the launch back 7 minutes, it looks like.
So, of course they did. Of course they did.
Possibly. Again, we'll see if they update it officially, when the timing is, all of that. It's SpaceX. Sometimes it can be confusing with what they're doing and how they're doing it. But that's the latest update, it looks like, from what we saw.
And you know what, sir? That would actually line up with the go, no-go poll for prop load, because if we're just seeing this somehow now, that would line up with when the go, no-go poll would verify if they are go or no-go for prop load at T-minus 35. So they have all the room, or they have essentially all the time they need within their launch window to use if they're not in prop load. But if they're in prop load, they don't have the flexibility to push into the window anymore. They're then committed to that set T0 whenever they were originally targeting. So maybe they're seeing something in the vehicle that they're waiting to that they're trying to wait out or troubleshoot, or most likely there's some weather either around the area or closer to the LZ that they want to have cleared out first. My guess is on the latter there. We don't have a way to confirm or deny that just yet. But it's not the end of the world by any means. About a 7-minute slip is not anything alarming. I think that's just them trying to wait something out, and I think they should get it here at some point soon.
The other thing it could be, because we saw this on the NROL launch where they bumped it back by like a couple of minutes, I think it was a minute, 19 seconds or 18 seconds, is there are these things that are called COLAs, and that's collision on launch assessments. So basically,
that is true.
The chance that if it flies up at that exact moment with its planned trajectory, it could go onto a direct impact with another vehicle that's up there. So they keep track of all that, and so they find times where they make sure when they launch, your trajectory does not directly intersect with a satellite that is supposed to be right where you are at the same time, because that would be bad. Again, it's SpaceX. We don't know. They don't really tell us these things, which is a shame. Also, like the Go No poll, we really don't get to hear it anymore.
I wish we did. That would make our lives a lot easier, and also it's just plain cool to be listening in directly to SpaceX comms.
Exactly. But now we have about 43 and a half minutes to go. And we started early tonight, too, with the moon impact that I don't think anybody saw from what I've been looking at.
No, I've been following Andrew McCarthy on Instagram, his story. And he posted a video of what he's looking at through his telescope, and he said, couldn't see a thing, LOL. And he has a fat telescope on it as well. So if anybody in the world was going to see it, it was going to be him. And this was as of like 9 minutes ago. So maybe there's something he can pull out through some like time-lapse footage or something. But again, like the moon is still a massive object compared to a Falcon 9 upper stage hitting it at about 5,500 miles an hour, I think it was. So still, it was a very strong event, very energetic event. But just the scale of the moon and it's a lot harder to see things on the moon or happening on the moon than you would originally think because of that scale difference. And also, the moon is 250,000 miles away. It isn't exactly easy to see every bit of detail on the surface of the moon, even though we can still see craters and such on it right now just with telescopes. But the surface is a lot more detailed than our telescopes would, I guess, lead us to believe.
Yeah, so we don't have any more info. The people asking places to go look for it, we've all been trying to find it, and it seems like there hasn't been anyone that spotted it visually at this point. I know Ninja Guy Dan was just asking, does LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter's orbit, pass over the impact site at all? And I know NASA said that they were going to try to see if they could use the other on-orbit assets that they have around the moon to try and capture it. So I know they were looking at LRO. They were also looking at KPLO, which was the Korean lunar orbiter. For some reason, I'm forgetting what the P stands for.
Was it Polar? Polar Lunar Orbiter?
I think so. Korean Pathfinder lunar orbiter.
Ah, okay.
There we go. Sorry, I had to do a quick Google search on that. But yeah. Let's see. Yes, the person we used to have the SpaceX comms. We did. That was nice.
That was very nice.
SpaceX also used to hand out patches for each mission. Those all kind of ran away as things got more common.
Wouldn't it be nice, because the cadence is back down to, I guess, what it used to be? Wouldn't it be nice if they began that back up again? That'd be very nice. If anybody from SpaceX comms is listening, we like our patches. We need more patches. Please bring it back.
Even if it's just for special launches.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. We used to collect them all, and they started handing them out prior to launches, but following CRS-7, which you may recall was lost on its way uphill, I think that was back in 2015 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they decided, you know what, we're not going to give them out until the mission's a success. So they started giving them out after, and then they just disappeared.
Altogether.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Boo.
Well, hopefully this rocket will disappear from this pad into the sky in about 40-ish minutes from now. And in theory, this is about where we saw the slight bump last time, but this is also about 2 minutes from when they give the go, no-go for prop load. If they do give the go for prop load at the T-minus 38-minute mark, then they will actually start the propellant flowing at T-minus 35 minutes. That is when they start loading in the liquid oxygen, the LOX, and the RP-1, the rocket propellant 1, which is basically refined kerosene. Start loading those into stage 1. Meanwhile, stage 2 begins just with that RP-1 since it's closer to ambient temperature. Once that's fully loaded, which happens at about 20 minutes, 20 seconds to go until launch, we will see what we call the best vent, which is basically when they begin chilling down the lines to thermally condition them, going from something that's mostly room temperature to something that's minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. That way you don't shock the system, and then you can keep loading everything onto stage 2. Again, stage 1 will continue doing its loading the whole way through, and if all goes well, then we should hopefully see that liftoff in about 39 minutes. Let's see here. Elias is wondering, could multiple Falcon 9/Heavy payloads be transitioned to Starship? No offense to Falcon. I don't think it takes any offense. I think personally, Max, the problem I could think of is it'll fit in there, but how are you going to deploy it through a little Pez dispenser?
Yeah, so technically by mass and by payload volume allowed by Starship as it is now with the version 3 variant, yes, 100%. But as you just said, Sawyer, the problem is how are you going to deploy it? Because the only, I guess, payload deployable variant of Starship version 3 that we've seen, or it's for Starship at all, has been a Pez dispenser variant of Starship, which is meant to deploy Starlink version 3 satellites. There are going to be different variants of Starship that have, I guess, a larger area that opens to deploy bigger payloads that are, I guess, one payload of bigger size, and others of the like at some point. But we haven't really seen any hardware for that yet, nor do we know when that's coming. So Starlink version 3 is going to be the focus of Starship payloads first. And the first operational variant should be launching on Starship Flight 14, which will be the first to go orbital, which is very, very cool. But we're still waiting to see what SpaceX has in store to deploy larger payloads like that from Starship. So we'll see it at some point, hopefully in the next year or two, as Starship operations really begin to ramp up, both in Starbase and here in Florida. But we just don't know yet. I guess the closest thing we have is the HLS renders from NASA and SpaceX that show a large opening door deploying a rover from the very nose cone of ships. So we'll see how that evolves, whether they choose to have a variant of that, or if they choose a version with doors that open like the payload bay on the space shuttle. Yay, space shuttle reference. Yay. But we quite frankly just don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see what SpaceX ends up cooking up.
And one thing that the U.S. military has been looking into for their DoD or DoW launches is looking into what they are calling flatelites.
Yes,
which are the flat sats.
Yes,
And,
so essentially like Starlink version 3s in terms
Yeah.
of like size and shape. Yes, which would of course fit the Pez dispenser perfectly. But not all payloads can be bumped that small, or I guess down to that, I guess to the dimensions that Starlink version 3s are. But for the National Reconnaissance Office and the Department of Defense, that works out great. But that also means it can launch on more vehicles than just Starship. It can. I think there was a photo of, I believe, a stack of those. I'm seeing it in the back channel now. Thanks, Sawyer.
I gotcha.
Of some stacked inside of what looks like a Neutron payload fairing, which is very, very sizable. So we'll have to wait and see what they end up actually doing, or actually we might not, because of course it's DoD and we never get full insight into, I guess, dimensions, capabilities, what they end up doing with them. But more flat satellites, I think, are better, and I would not be surprised if we see more payloads or satellite designs moving in that direction, depending on what they can be accommodated before or for. As you see that photo there on the left-hand side of your screen, and yes, Neutron has a pretty cavernous payload volume. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, so if you look at the flatness in the design, they do look eerily similar to what we saw on Flight 13 with those actual V3s going out. So, I mean, that's probably going to be your best bet of, getting a more direct payload to Starship with its current iteration. Of course, the main thing is going to be those Starlink V3s, but it would also be nice to see, some other customers get to use the Pez dispenser.
It would, but also I think it's worth noting that Neutron here has a very different method for deploying payloads, in that it has the hungry hippo style fairings that open up literally like a hippo's mouth, and that they literally open just opposite to each other, and payloads can just be pushed straight out from the stage, whereas they are deployed horizontally through a Pez dispenser style door on Starship. So very different methods of payload deployment here, which is really cool.
Exactly. I mean, it'll be nice to see other things launch on Starship as well. And let's be honest, it'll be nice to see Neutron launch too when that does eventually go.
Yep. Hopefully
Which,
next year if things go well. I'm really hoping so.
And we have team members that also continually go and check out things going on at the Wallops Flight Facility and the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport. So if you're not following our team that's also in there, I believe Micah's down there. We have a couple people, and we usually repost them on our NSF socials. Another good reason to check out the socials, by the way. because we also do regular updates on what's going on with stuff with Rocket Lab out there, other suborbital launches, all the cool stuff going on. We are now under 34 minutes, which means fueling, in theory, should be underway. And of course, we'll keep an eye on the rocket to see if we see frost start forming anywhere on the vehicle as we get closer. And if so, that will obviously be the indication that they are pushing ahead towards tonight's T0. And as Max was pointing out earlier, a reminder that once they do begin that prop load, they are committed to that T0. They cannot hold, they cannot push it. Once they start fueling, it's literally in the name, load and go. It either loads and goes or loads and doesn't go.
I mean, basically, yes.
Now, some of you, as we had that kind of view with the close-up there, might notice something a little different. It's very rare when it comes out, but we do like to see that gray stripe kind of right above the black interstage there. Max, you mind explaining a little about what that is?
Yeah, that's when Falcon 9 is carrying a pretty serious payload to wherever it needs to go. So that gray stripe on the bottom of stage 2 there is called the Mission Extension Kit, and that is surrounding the RP-1 tank on the upper stage. And essentially what that's doing is that's keeping the RP-1 at an acceptable temperature for a longer period of time. Doesn't get hot, doesn't get cold, doesn't freeze, it doesn't evaporate and turn it all into gas inside the stage. It keeps the fuel inside at a more an operable temperature. Thank you, words. So that's essentially what it does, and that's why it's slightly darker in color to absorb more heat than the white exterior coating on the rest of the rocket, or at least of the tank structures. But that's essentially what that does, and that's really only put on for larger payloads that take a bit more time to deploy where they're going. And of course, in this case, it's going to a low Earth orbit, but it is going to take some time to get there based on its altitude and inclination. So that is what that is. And we don't see it too often, actually. We see it on some military payloads. We see it on some commercial payloads, but not all. It is very mission specific. And surely adds some cost to Falcon 9 at that point as well, although that might be offset a little bit. I'm not quite sure how SpaceX's model changes based on how much a booster has flown or not, but maybe that offsets the cost a bit, or maybe flying on such a used booster offsets the extra cost a bit of having to apply that Mission Extension Kit on the upper stage. So that's what that is, and it's actually pretty cool to see because we don't see it too often.
You're not kidding. And I think we might be seeing frost at the base of the vehicle there through the tree line.
I'm trying to figure that out as well, because these pesky trees are always in the way here at the press site looking out the pad 40. Sometimes, yeah, because like there's a weld line like right in between the LOX tank and the RP-1 tank, and that is what we sometimes mistake as frost because it's white, and that's where they wipe the soot away to inspect the weld lines there on the tank structure. And I guess on some nights through some haze and some bush, that also looks like some frost. But we're not entirely sure yet. I'm trying to look because we should be at the point now where we see visual or frost visually on the tanks, at least on the bottom of the LOX tank.
I see vapors right between the gap and those trees there.
Do you?
See a little wiggling behind that rightmost tree? Bottom right of Falcon. Behind that tree, there's some wisping.
I think so. Oh, yeah. Or is that just the heat haze, Sawyer?
No, that's not heat haze.
Hence.
Yeah, that's definitely not heat haze. That's
very nice. Okay, cool. Yes. Good. Well, cool. There we go. We have our visual confirmation that we are in prop load there. Excellent.
Fantastic. And now under 30 minutes to go until launch. And that will continue as is until about 20 minutes, 20 seconds to go. So another, 9 minutes or so to finish loading up the RP-1 on stage 2 before they switch over to the liquid oxygen. Now, you mentioned regarding the trajectory on this one, as much as I love summer, and as nice as it is not having all of the people from New York, New Jersey, and that area that come back for their 6 months here in Florida and having that traffic, one thing I do miss about that time is we get more of the southeasterly launches as someone who lives southeast. We see a lot of the northeasterly launches right now.
We do, but that is also very dependent on where the payload needs to go and what it's going to take to get it there. We see a lot of northeast launches for LEO because that's just how the launch or how the orbital mechanics line up to get it there most efficiently due to timing. But But usually what we see flying southeast are the Starlink group. I think it was the Group 6 shell that was primarily flying southeast, but that is mostly over the winter months when the ocean is a bit more angry up northeast towards the Carolinas, which is where the drone ship normally is staged. But usually at this time of year and most times a year, to launch payloads like this with where they need to go, they typically launch northeast. So, I mean, they're not flying every 2 to 4 days anymore. They can't, just based on the hardware they have available. And just the overall cadence of what they don't need to fly, it being mostly East Coast Starlinks now. They don't have the need or, I guess, ability to do that anymore. So they can afford to wait out these northeast windows should they need to. But yeah, a lot of LEO payloads head northeast, and one of the most famous we see is whenever they head off to the International Space Station, they launch on a 51.6 degree orbital inclination, which of course is very, very similar to what we will be seeing tonight. So that's just how it all lines up, folks. We can't do anything about it. It's all down to the mercy of orbital mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Although, again, having the calmer seas means we do get more of those southeasterly ones towards the winter time, which I prefer, again, as I was mentioning, someone who lives southeast of the Cape. So,
which makes me wonder, Sawyer, like, I don't know if we're going to see any more of those.
I mean,
I hate to say it, but I don't know how many more Starlinks are on the roster for the East Coast to launch here, or if it'll last long enough to warrant sending something out southeast. I genuinely wonder how that's going to play out as we head into the late summer months here going into fall.
Yeah, I mean, by the time they would do the switchover, it's a lot of the missions haven't been Starlinks lately. As you mentioned, as of right now, the only thing on the foreseeable near calendar is a Starlink mission next week, and then a lot of it's all just customer payloads beyond that point. So,
which we love to see because we love customer payloads. They are, of course, what help keep the lights on over at SpaceX. But Starlink is also a great revenue generator as well. But they, I guess, are coming up on the end of their current V2 mini constellation, and what they want to move on to next is Starlink version 3, which are much bigger and much more powerful, and can only be launched on Starship to expand upon the current constellation of Starlink satellites. So, while I understand why, it is very strange to see this chapter of Falcon 9's life, I guess, coming to a close.
It really is. I mean, the beginning of the end, I think, was when Just Read the Instructions was retired. It was a GPS mission that we were covering, and all of a sudden, we saw the successful post, and it's like, by the way, that was the last landing on Just Read the Instructions for a Falcon. We're all like, what?
Literally out of left field. We're just like, excuse me? Like, did we just read that right? So it was a very somber thing watching Just Read the Instructions come into port one last time carrying a booster on her shoulders. Yeah, I just even going back 2 years, like they were launching literally every 2 to 4 days, and especially last year as well, when we're used to seeing the drone ships and boosters coming in and out of port, like just like normal marine traffic, right? And now it's becoming a whole event again because it doesn't happen very often, which is very strange. Like it's like we were brainwashed to just like, I don't want to say not care about Falcon because that obviously isn't true. But we're just so used to seeing Falcon fly that whenever it doesn't fly, we're like, oh, what happened? Is something wrong? Like it's a foreign feeling that we're having to get reaccustomed to, myself especially. So yeah, just very, very strange.
Exactly. Did something go wrong with the rocket, and where was Jerry Pike with his drone at the time of its low cadence?
Oh no. Oh gosh, had to bring it up at least once.
We love Jerry. He's out there tonight as well. But in case you don't know, Jerry was operating a drone for both Ship 36's static fire attempt and the Falcon, New Glenn static fire attempt for Flight 4. So that's why we joke about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see in port there. It's still there. They haven't really done much conversion to it, which is interesting. They took it out really quick, and it was like, okay, yeah, now we're done with it. And we haven't touched it much. It's just there. But they are still using a Shortfall Gravitas, which is out there tonight as getting ready to catch this booster. The next one to enter the 30 Club, which goes along with Bideford here with a $30 super chat, saying, fingers crossed SpaceX moves forward tonight with the launch since we're all going without sleep. By the way, how many boosters are in the 30s now? Hugs all.
So
Oh.
I guess tonight, assuming launch happens on time, would be 5. So we have, starting with this one, B1077, this being its 30th. And then coming up the list, let's come up a bit. So we have 1063 based at Vandenberg, holding at 34 flights. We have 1067 here at the Cape at 36 flights, which is the current fleet leader. We have 1071 over at Vandenberg, right behind it at 35 flights. And then, of course, we had the recent, I guess, expend. What's the word? It was expended. Booster B1069 on its 32nd flight overall was expended for oh goodness gracious, what mission was it? I'm blanking.
It was
Brain
just
is-
recently. It was just
Brain is
couple
not
weeks ago.
braining. What was it? I feel so bad now. I'm so
Hang on, let
sorry.
me check next space
1069.
flight.
Yeah.
It wasn't NROL. It was MRV.
MRV, the Northrop Grumman MRV mission. So 32 flights on that one, and that was its last. So all in, that would make 5 in total and 4 active, assuming this one goes tonight, because if it doesn't, obviously it's still stuck at 29 until it flies. So yeah, I guess in total there have been currently 4, hopefully 5, and hopefully after this mission there will be 4 still active, 2 here at the Cape and 2 over at Vandenberg.
Yeah, I gotta say, Vandenberg is really picking up the pace. For what's slowing down here at the Cape, they're going all in over on the West Coast, which, again, very interesting given the fact that we have 2 drone ships here. One of them is retired, and one of them is the newest in the fleet. That's the one that's out tonight, a Shortfall of Gravitas. The oldest one in the fleet, of course I Still Love You, is the one that's out on the West Coast now. And that's the one dealing with all the extra launches. So they've got, I guess, old reliable, but rather than having the slightly newer, slightly improved ones over there, we've got one sitting doing nothing here. We have a Shortfall of Gravitas doing most of the work, which hasn't even had to get much work lately because the last mission was RTLS and the mission before that was Expendable.
Yep.
I just find that kind of funny. They're like, we don't need it here. Maybe the West Coast? Nah, you're fine with the oldie.
Yeah, I mean, just read the instructions right now. It's currently undergoing some transformation to get it ready for Starship vehicle transport operations from Starbase and the Cape. I guess to and from both areas. We don't know when that's going to be ready or what it's going to look like after that transformation is done. But that is why it is currently retired from Falcon operations, because they want to evolve it for Starship operations.
Yeah. It just feels kind of wasteful to have it sitting there. I know it's going to be converted and it will happen. And they already have You'll Thank Me Later with the little canopy there that will also be bringing vehicles, ships, and has already brought parts to and from Starbase to the Cape.
Yep, exactly.
So it'll be nice to see it come in with an actual Starship. I think that is going to be the funkiest looking thing, trying to see them get it out. I was hoping that they wouldn't cover it because I was going to totally rent a boat and go out and ride alongside it to see if I could see Starship in it like I did for one of the Falcon 9 boosters.
Yep.
Alas,
I mean,
that
hopefully
viable.
Hopefully we'll still have camera views of it. Because hopefully it'll be docking to the turn basin here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. But speaking of having cameras on, oh come on, we can't see it. Where is it? Oh come on,
It knows.
Where is it? No, I think where is it?
Part of it could be the humidity. Part of it could also be the fact that SpaceX didn't give us an exact T0.
Yeah,
so it
also
might not be
true.
on the 00.
True. Also true. I'm trying to wait to see. Because the wind, I think, is picking up a little bit and it's blowing out towards the Atlantic Ocean, which would push the cloud away from us, making it more difficult to see.
Unless that's just kind of water falling through the crew access tower. There it goes.
There it is. See, I tried to time it just right and pull like a full-on like epic Sawyer transition there, but I absolutely failed.
That was not your fault. We will blame SpaceX for that one. That they moved it to, what is that, 30 seconds past the hour? Or no,
40.
40, 20,
no.
I think.
20. No.
It was 19 minutes, 40 seconds to go on our clocks. Normally 20 minutes, 20 seconds. So that's 40 seconds.
Yes.
That's
And
why
by the
I
way,
went to school for
folks,
journalism to not do math.
the vent that we're seeing is the T-minus 20-minute and 20-second vent, or that's what we normally see it at on the time, but we don't have an exact T0 from AST Space Mobile or SpaceX tonight. So I guess that is our indicator of T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds. But what this is SpaceX wrapping up prop load operations for RP1 on the upper stage, and they are chilling down the lines inside of the transporter erector for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading here, hopefully in about the next 2.5 minutes or so. Once we see this cloud disappear, that will be our visual indicator that stage 2 LOX load is underway. But until then, we're seeing some of that GOX or gaseous oxygen coming out of the transporter erector, venting off as they flow ox through it to try and chill it down as much as they possibly can before loading ox into Falcon 9 stage 2. So that is why we're seeing it, and that is what that is.
And again, the thing that we can really tell with this is how the weather is and the air. Obviously, there's that no breeze, so you don't get the Falcon Cape. This is just like a magic act where it's trying to disappear because that plume is going absolutely nowhere right now.
I mean, like I say, the wind is picked up. Like it's literally a gentle breeze coming out of the west. Like it feels nice because there's been like no airflow here all night. I'm not even joking. The air has been absolutely stagnant. But just because there's a breeze here does not mean there's a breeze over at the pad, because the pad is about 4 miles and change away from our cameras here at the KSC price site. So a lot can be different in 4.5 miles distance, weather-wise.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, we've seen ones where they'll be in a lightning watch or something out there, and Cape Side it's sunny and fine.
Or there are times where we see the pad disappear in rain, and it's not raining here at the press site. So, yes.
Exactly. Well, now we're getting that much closer to launch. Again, this is the Bluebird 11, 12, and 13 launch. It's easier just in the corner to put 11-13. It's 11 through 13. This is going to be part of the AST Space Mobile constellation that they've been working on. This is part of the Block 2 variant, essentially. Block 1 was still pretty good. It got about 100 megabits per second to regular smartphones, but now these next generation ones are supposed to increase that even more, allegedly doubling the off-Earth population tonight, because they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the old ones that were launched. Bluebird 6 launched on an Indian rocket. Bluebird 7 launched on New Glenn, but did not make it into its actual orbit. So that leaves 8, 9, and 10, which were launched back in June on a Falcon 9 from this very area. And these next 3 will be joining that as well. Again, the company plans to have a lot more of them. They plan on beginning beta testing for their basically cell-based data from satellites. Boy, I am wording this terribly tonight. That is going to be part of their major constellation of mobile network, basically from space with data, and they hope to increase the speeds to at least 200 megabits per second and have all of those broadband mobile connections. That's the words I was trying to think of. And these things are absolutely massive, by the way. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but in terms of all 3 of these, we're talking almost 14 tons of stuff going up. It's 13,500 kilos, and they have an antenna on them that expands ridiculously big. We are talking thousands of feet, 2,400 square feet to be exact, which is about 223 square meters once fully deployed. That is a big antenna.
There have not been many bigger, and most that are either on major telescopes or on spy satellites.
Yeah. I really should just call them direct-to-cell internet satellites. It's probably a better way to describe it. I'm trying to find words at 3:34 Eastern in the morning is a little tough.
I wonder if direct-to-cell has been trademarked by Starlink.
I don't know. I guess that's why they use the fancier wording. But yeah, so that is tonight. And as mentioned, this booster is going to be the next one to join the 30 flight club. Have we run through all the other missions that it was on previously? I know we went through the other boosters that have hit 30 flights.
Yeah, but we can do that again. So this
Why
would
not?
be its 30th, and its flight history includes the likes of Crew 5, GPS-3 SV06, Inmarsat I6F2, CRS-28, Intelsat G37, NG20, TD7, Bluebird 8 through 10, and 21 previous Starlink missions. So it has some history, and it has certainly earned its keep in the Falcon 9 fleet for sure. And it'll hopefully be landing on the drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas, about 8.5 minutes into flight, about 600 kilometers or so downrange, and the fairing recovery vessel Doug is about 100 kilometers farther, aiming to scoop those fairings out of the water for reuse at some point in the future. So, kind of business as usual for SpaceX at this point, but as we've said many times already during the stream, Falcon 9 operations are winding back, so we are enjoying every bit of Falcon 9 that we have left as much as we can get.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the cadence is slowing down on the East Coast. It's still going on the West Coast, and hopefully that will soon be replaced with a higher cadence of Starship flights, especially from Florida.
That will be insane. I can't wait. Like, we have all been, I know I can confidently speak for both Dee, Jerry, and probably you, Sawyer. We have been itching for Starship here in Florida for years. And we are finally so close to it actually coming true, or becoming reality. Pad 39A is getting there in terms of being ready. Like, I would give it probably a month and a half, 2 months before it's ready to receive a vehicle. And then hopefully within the next probably couple of months as well, we get our first vehicles here in Florida as well. Don't know what that's going to be in terms of numbers from Starbase production, but hopefully soon in the next couple of months, and hopefully a launch before the end of the year. If I had to guess, probably sometime in maybe late October or November at the earliest.
Yeah, I remember when they started building this thing. I think it was, what was it, late 21, early 22, somewhere around there, and started building that going, okay, this thing is big. Okay, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's going to be even more massive. Oh my goodness. And now we have Starship flying, and it's mind-boggling, especially now that they're even improving it because they went to the V3s and had to make changes and improve the launch mount and all that.
Do you remember when the Starship Tower first went up at 39, and how when it finally topped the FSS, or the fixed service structure over there at the pad, and we're like, oh man, like there goes that site forever of it being the tallest structure over there. But now we've just become so used to seeing it that we just don't even question it. And it's the same actually with Pad 40 in there being a crew access tower, because when I first began working here, there was never a crew access tower in the way of Falcon. It was just the 4 lightning towers, Falcon, and the transporter erector, like right in the middle. Like there was nothing in between you or it. And now obviously there is a shining black crew access tower right in the way of Falcon, so we can fly astronauts from this pad while Starship operations and Falcon Heavy operations commence over at 39A. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like it in reality it wasn't that long ago. But it feels like forever ago. But things do change around here pretty rapidly sometimes.
It really does. Although, then again, when I started following all of this stuff with spaceflight, you still had the Titan towers there before they were demolished.
I wish I could have seen those. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I remember seeing the video, I think it was on Twitter at the time or somewhere, of the actual demolition of the two. It was like,
I've seen that
wow.
on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, what's going to happen to those, and what are they going to put in its place? And then I got a tour out of Slick 40 in the early days. Like, we're talking, I think, 2011, 2012. And it was kind of pathetic, the little hip that they had there. I'm like, this is it?
It was small at first, yeah.
It's still small, but now it's small and mighty. Coming up now in about 10 and a half minutes to go until tonight's launch of Bluebirds 11, 12, and 13. Oh, boy. This is one of those where it's like, I wish I drank coffee right now to get a little extra caffeine kick.
I forgot you don't drink coffee, Sawyer. I always keep forgetting that about you.
I know. I mean, I try and put other stuff in my NSF mugs that I have, like the Flight 13 one, but, you know, I got to do what I can to stay awake.
You and I both. I also do not drink coffee, and I currently have a Flight 12 mug with me right now as well.
Yeah, I have the tumbler instead, the Starship Heat Shield tile one. That's what I have instead. But yeah. Should mention, by the way, that we do have all that available in the shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. This wasn't meant to be a merch plug, but you know what? I'm doing it anyway. Yeah, we have the Starship Flight 13 patch, which was a pre-order, and now we're being told as of today, shipping has begun. So if you ordered one, it's on the way, and now, if you do choose to order one now, it's in stock, so it will be easier getting that shipped to you. We also have it, like I was saying, in the coffee mugs. They are much needed. We also, for those in the US, have the etched tumbler with the Raptor design on it. Lots of cool stuff in there. The sun shirts that will help you with this crazy humidity and not dealing with bugs, and also keeping you protected from the sun for the day launches. Check them out at the shop, shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
Yeah, I got the email earlier saying it had shipped. That was super exciting because honestly, I had forgotten about it. We're just too busy that buying a patch and it shipping just is so easy to forget. But I got the email saying that it shipped, and I was like, "Ooh, one more to add to the collection in my patch board." So hopefully here soon.
Yeah, exactly. We were joking earlier in the back channel about how what are we going to do with patches when we get to flight number 314 or something, or 612 as the
Good Lord,
7th of the week from the Cape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be kind of funny if we get to that. I mean, at some point we're going to have to stop with the patches, but for now we're not. So I guess grab them while we're still making them.
I mean, also, so SpaceX also used to make patches for every single mission, and that stopped actually after flight 10, I think it was. And from what we can see, it looks like they're doing annual patches. Like they have a Starship 2025 patch, they have a Starship 2026 patch, and then they also have a Starship Pad 2 patch, and also recently on their store there was a Starship V3 deployment patch. So maybe they'll be doing patches for milestones going forward. So probably for ship catch, maybe for first ship reflight. Don't know. Probably big milestone missions like that. But yeah, I get you don't make. I mean, SpaceX's overall goal is airline-like operations, and you don't have a patch or like a special thing for every single plane taken off out of Orlando, out of the airport in Orlando, right? It's just not. It's not feasible. It's not reasonable. So at some point they're going to have to wind that down, but that's all the more reason why we should enjoy these early days of Starship as much as we can, because these early days are gone before we know it, and Starship will become operational before we know it, and we'll be, I guess, very nostalgic on these very very early flights as to how insane they used to be.
It's weird that this is the early days now. Just saying.
I know. Yeah.
As we see another Falcon 9 on the pad. In fact, right now, that Falcon 9 should be getting ready to chill down those 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the rocket, which, Max, why do they chill down the engines?
So essentially the same reason that they chill down the propellant lines in the transporter erector. You don't want to be thermally shocking any components or materials in your rocket or around your rocket, as that risks the propellant suddenly flashing to a gas and expanding and causing all sorts of damage to your internals. That is not good, and that would cause a lot of headache for some people who work on the rocket and the ground system. So that's why they begin to trickle some LOX and NRP1 into the engines and the turbo pumps to make sure that they're down to their operating temperatures when the time comes to ignite the T-tab and send propellant through for ignition. So that's why they do it. They are commencing it right now. It takes a few minutes to get the Merlin 1Ds down to their desired temperatures, but that usually goes without a problem. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why. But also, do I have to it's the amount of, I guess, vapor coming off Falcon today is incredible. Like, it is a very, very thick coat of vapor. And if there was ever a visual indicator as just how humid it is in Florida right now, it's that. It is an incredibly muggy night here, or morning here in Florida.
Yes, although worth noting that the weather forecast for the 45th Weather Squadron was at 85% favorable, and based on what you're seeing, Max, it seems like things look pretty good weather-wise.
Absolutely. So the official forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron only called for a 15% chance of weather-related violations. So, in other words, 85% favorable. And the only concerns being listed were of the cumulus cloud rule and the not shelf cloud rule. Goodness gracious, what is it? Anvil cloud rule. Yes. Which judging by what the Mark 1 eyeballs are seeing right now and by what the radar is showing me, there are none currently in the immediate vicinity of the launch complex or the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, which is where Pad 40 is. There is some weather out over the Atlantic, but nothing directly affecting the landing zone out by the Carolinas, where a Shortfall of Gravitas is currently stationed. But weather-wise here at the Cape right now, with the exception of some clouds potentially ruining our view, maybe a minute or so into flight, weather is looking A-OK for launch.
Well, it should provide some great sound, at least with the reverberation from it, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really quickly, let me thank Rick St. Hilaire for the support. Appreciate it very much. And speaking of support, at this point now, the supporting structure that was up against Falcon 9 should be getting ready to retract, and that is the transporter erector, also known as the strongback. In this view, it is actually behind the vehicle there. You can't really see it with the crew access tower in the way, but basically it's what Falcon 9 rolls out on. There you go. You can see it to the left of the rocket there, left back of it. There are clamps that come open from around underneath the payload fairing halves, which, as you can see, are also previously flown.
Yep.
And then the strongback leans back about 1.8 degrees before throwing all the way back at launch. And that's stuff that provides all the different propellants to the rocket, data lines, electrical lines, thermal lines, basically like air conditioning essentially for the satellites inside the payload fairing. All of that runs through that one structure. And by leaning it back a little bit, you have a little bit of slack there, and that if it does get burnt on the way uphill, it throws all the way back, and if it does happen, you only have to replace a tiny amount of the cabling versus a lot of it.
Yes. And what was really neat about that last view from one of SpaceX's cameras was the frost and the humidity are such today, and also the wind direction from its angle is you can actually see the stringers internally on the gray stripe there on the RP1 tank on stage 2, which is really, really cool. You don't just see that unless there is actual frost and of course propellant on board stage 2 there. So a really cool sight for sure.
Oh, it's a very cool sight. So literally and figuratively, because that is cold, the liquid oxygen
Yes,
there.
it is very cold. I would not recommend touching.
So at this point, 2.5 minutes, we should be getting close to all of the propellant loads wrapping up here on Falcon 9. So that is the RP-1, the rocket propellant 1, which is a refined form of kerosene. That was already loaded into stage 2 and should be just about wrapped up here on stage 1, as well as finishing off the LOX or the liquid oxygen load on both stage 1 and stage 2. And a reminder, they started fueling this thing at T-minus 35 minutes. So at about 33 minutes in, Falcon 9 is essentially just about fully fueled now. So what they'll be doing is closing off all of those lines, and then you will have a final gas close purge. So basically, any of the lines that are still there that have stuff in them, like you can see there behind the transporter erector, we'll do a final vent, get rid of any remnants of propellants or oxidizers or any other gases in those lines that could potentially be an issue if a flamey rocket goes right by it. And we do have a fully fueled Falcon 9 there. So now should be the gas closeout. There you go. You can see puffs of that. It's also happening at the base of the rocket and all the other lines against the vehicle. So coming up next is going to be the Falcon 9 entering startup. So that's when the onboard computers will take control of the count. That happens at about T-minus 1 minute. At the same time, that is also when all of those tanks that are now full pressurized to their final flight levels. And there's the 1 minute mark. Falcon 9 should now be in startup. Of course, we'll wait for the official confirmation as well. And then all that's remaining after that is the go for launch. We have confirmation Falcon 9 is in startup. In just a couple seconds, we should hopefully get word that the launch director has given the go for launch.
ZLD, go for launch.
And there it is. We are go for launch of Bluebird satellites 11, 12, and 13. The booster on your screen about to be the newest member of the 30 flight club of SpaceX boosters. Still to come now, at about 7 seconds or so, is when this TTEB ignites. That is triethylaluminum triethylborane. Basically, it's the igniter. It's a green flash. Then that will start up the engines, and then hopefully at T0, it will lift off. And again, once it launches, we will shush and let you hear it, because it takes a little bit for the sound to get there. But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye out for that engine ignition. We have ignition, And liftoff. Falcon 9, not the only bird. Bluebirds also flying to space tonight. Falcon 9 now going into that cloud layer that we were talking about there. Makes it a little hard to see the detail, but obviously you can still see the glow of those 9 Merlin 1D engines continuing their ride uphill. At this point, Falcon 9 should be passing max Q. That is the maximum aerodynamic forces that Falcon 9 will face on the way uphill. And yes, it will continue to go faster, but as the atmosphere thins out there, that's when it becomes less of an issue with that pressure against it. And now you can see, even through all of that, those 9 engines there. So coming up will be 3 events in rapid succession. First off will be MECO, that's main engine cutoff, when those 9 engines will shut down on the base of the first stage. Then the first and second stages will separate. And then finally, the upper stage engine, the Merlin vacuum engine, will ignite. And that will do the rest of the work getting it up into space. Meanwhile, once they're separated, stage 1 will begin its downhill path, hopefully for a touchdown on the drone ship, a Shortfall of Gravitas, about 6-ish minutes from now. And if you're used to all the Starlink launches, it's approximately the same time. So we should be having MECO in any second now. And looking at the graphic at the bottom right, there's MECO. The engine's shut down. Next up will be the stage separation. And finally, on the right side of the screen, hopefully the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine. The green T-tab flash, and there it goes. Stage 2 now bringing those 3 Bluebird satellites on their way uphill. And now you'll see the grid fins pop out on the left. Oh, look at the view as it interacts with some of those plumes there. Those grid fins are not needed on the way uphill, but they will be used closer to landing as it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere again. That will help steer Falcon 9 towards the deck of the drone ship. Of course, that's in addition to the engines that will also be gimbaling to help a bit. So next up should be the fairing jettison. That's those 2 payload halves that were protecting Bluebirds 11, 12, and 13 on the way uphill. And now that they are there, you can see in the reflection the fairing halves flying away, exposing those satellites now to the vacuum of space. Max, you were just saying in the back channel, I don't know if we have you back, but you're saying that was a loud one, huh?
That was an incredibly loud one. Like so much so to the point that even from 4 miles away, when the sound got to us, we heard the actual puff of engine ignition and then the sound growing from there. That sounded like some missions that we get from 39A. Like that was incredibly punchy. It was super strong, and like we felt that one on like levels we don't normally from missions from Pad 40 from our perspective. It was actually setting off car alarms in the VAB parking lot, which is if there's ever anything to demonstrate how loud that was, car alarms were going off 4.5 miles away, which is kind of insane. But that's what you get when the air is super humid like it is tonight, and that helps carry the sound a lot better for a lot farther of a distance. So a really, really cool and very loud one tonight for sure.
Yeah, as much as you would think that it sets off car alarms a lot, it really doesn't. The conditions have to be just right.
I mean, I shouldn't say. I wouldn't go that far. I would go that far for Pad 40 missions for sure. But there's always more than like a handful that go off for missions from 39A, and there were certainly some that went off for Artemis 2, because there was a ton of vehicles here at the press site for that, of course, and many alarms went off during that one as well. So it's not entirely uncommon, but certainly is uncommon for vehicles this far away from Pad 40.
And yet it's funny, you and I, when we're out there on the Space Force, which, by the way, at this point, the first stage has passed apogee, the highest point in its trajectory, and is now on its way back downhill. I mean, we get to put our cars sometimes within about 2 miles of the launch pad, and I don't think I've heard a car alarm go off in a long time for those super close ones.
Yeah. I miss those. I really do.
It's just strange which ones do and which ones don't from Pad 40. But from Pad 40, you also get the VAB squeal, which I know I heard on the audio, and if you missed it, maybe we'll be able to see it in the replays after launch and be able to hear it. But those VAB panels squeaking or squealing just the right way, it hits you. Coming out now 6 minutes into flight. Next up will be the entry burn. This is, as we like to say, fighting fire with fire, or as EJ likes to say, the official name of it, supersonic retro propulsion. Basically, it's going to create a heat shield, essentially, using its own exhaust plume as it goes downhill. This will help slow it down and get it ready for that touchdown. Today's entry burn is expected to be about, trying to do the math here, about 20-ish seconds, potentially, maybe a little longer. But there we go. It starts with one engine in the center and then expands to the 3 diagonal engines there. So you got 1, 3, and 9, I believe, igniting.
Yep. I think actually 1, 5, and 9, I think it
1,
is.
5,
1,
sorry,
5,
yes.
and 9. Yep.
5 is the middle, duh. Then you'll see it go back down to 1. It goes from that sort of rectangle to a circular flame and then off. And that is a successful looking entry burn. So meanwhile, stage 2, now at almost 18,000 kilometers an hour, 166 kilometers in altitude. And yet stage 1, you can see some of those puffs from the coal gas jet thrusters as it gets lower down, and a little bit of that plasma interaction. Now 27 kilometers in altitude, under 5,000 kilometers an hour in speed.
Plasma on the grid fins there. Look at that.
Oh man, that's also about where the drone chip should be, is around that left grid fin area.
It'll be a speck of light there down there somewhere, hopefully soon, if there aren't any clouds in the way.
I
Which there might be.
There's that
Which there
one
might
little
be.
pixel glowing there. That's it.
Where?
It was just there. Now it's not.
That may have been the plasma.
Anyway, you'll be able to see that coming up. Meanwhile, between the starting of the landing burn and the landing itself, we should have SECO, second engine cutoff, when the Merlin vacuum engine will shut down.
There it is. Saw it. There it is.
Yeah, now I see
there.
it.
Yep.
So now all of that will be happening at the same time. So we'll have landing burn, SECO, and then hopefully touchdown. So get ready. This is going to be a busy 30 seconds here. And there's confirmation.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn has started up on the first stage.
Oh, we heard sonic booms from the mic.
Audio on the drone ship. Look at this.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 shutdown.
Nice.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Beautiful. We
Bullseye.
have successfully had another booster enter the 30 Flight Club. Welcome to the team. And as you heard there, also the second stage engine shutting off exactly as planned. You can actually hear the 3 sonic booms on the way down from the mic that they had on board a Shortfall of Gravitas there. That was cool.
That's a rare treat because a Shortfall of Gravitas was normally the drone ship that we would get audio from. I think, if I'm recalling that correctly, or was it just read the instructions? I think it was ASOG, right?
It is now,
Right?
apparently.
Yeah,
It wasn't before. It is now.
Yeah, very, very, very cool to hear that in real time as well. And also nice to hear those little pops and bangs as the engine shuts down and depresses at the end there with the flashes of T-Tab and leftover fuel. Really, really cool treat there, and I'm so glad that we caught that, because we don't get that we don't get that too often anymore. I think there was also lightning out there as well on the camera.
Yeah, that looked cool. And so B-1077 now completing its 30th flight. By the way, in case you were wondering what its 29th flight was, it was Bluebird as well. So since June, it has flown 2 missions and 6 Bluebird satellites into orbit.
That was awesome.
It really was. And by the way, in case you're wondering, there is still one more engine burn that will happen. It's known as SES-2, Second Engine Start 2. That happens about 46-ish minutes into flight. That burn will last approximately 5 seconds. And then at about 54 minutes into flight is when they will start the deployment sequence, starting with Bluebird 13 first. Then 6 minutes later will be Bluebird 12. And then 5 minutes after that is Bluebird 11. And we are going to be working on replays of that launch and everything so you can see what it looked like from the views you might have missed, get to relive the VAB squeal, and of course, as is always the treat, when we have DYs out in the field, we get the DY slow-mo at the end. You're going to want to stick around for that. Also, let me thank Jack of Some, Master of None, saying there were about 30 of us who woke up on the Disney Fantasy about 7 miles off coast coming into port this morning, hoping for an awesome view.
Nice.
I hope you got an awesome view there.
Very nice. That is awesome.
Again, if you recorded a view or anything, please tag us on the socials.
Tag us on socials. Yeah, please post it anywhere you can and tag us. We would love to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love seeing all the viewer photos come in. I appreciate the people that tag NSF and that tag me as well, getting to see them. There's nothing like it. I haven't seen one from a cruise ship. I mean, I've seen it from a boat, but never a cruise ship like that.
I think there was a time where I think Gage was on a cruise ship at some point. I think for a southeast trajectory launch, and it was like prime time jelly time. It was like prime jelly time for him, and he sent us a video from it like while we were still alive, and we were all like gawking over it. It was so pretty. So yeah, cruise ships can definitely be great places to watch a launch, depending on where you are and where the rocket is going.
Yeah, especially if there's, a rocket that's supposed to be launching directly behind it. It's a better view on the boat than if you're, say, at Jetty Park waiting to see the rocket lift off.
No, no, shish.
Wasn't that a Bluebird mission?
Oh my God, it was. Oh my God, it was for AST Space. No.
Was that not Bluebird 6? Or
no,
Bluebird
that was NG2. That was Escapade. That was for NASA.
Oh, okay.
Don't do that to us, Sawyer. Don't you dare.
It's still traumatizing. I get it. I hate to bring it up, but
there are 2 distinct missions that cruise ships dare not be mentioned in, and one of them is the NG2 mission because it blocked the view for a lot of us over there on the Jetty Park Pier, and also the not Salcom. What was it? Oh, it was the Cosmos SkyMed Gen 2 mission back in January of 2022. It was a beautiful sunset launch, RTLS. And on, I think its 3rd attempt, a cruise ship violated the range because I believe the captain was trying to get a better view for launch. I could be a bit off on that, but either way, the cruise ship did for sure violate the range and cause the mission to scrub at T-minus 30, I think it was 35 seconds.
Yeah, that one actually scrubbed the mission. The second one just prevented view of liftoff for a lot of people.
It did.
Which I was up in a high-rise building, so I saw it just fine. Just saying.
So I saw it just fine.
Oh, boy. Now we like to joke, because Das always says this is his favorite view on launch day is the empty pad. I still disagree with that. I get why he says it, because it's cool. It's like, oh yeah, launch, so that's a good thing. No, my favorite view is engine ignition. Just saying. I mean, watch the replays for yourself and tell me that's not coolers when you get to see that.
Yeah. Look at this.
Because at least once the engines ignite and it starts moving, it's going. I mean, I can't say that it's going to go once the engines actually start igniting. See Starship Flight 13 for a recent example. But yeah. Love the way that it reflects in the water like that.
Mm-hmm. And yes, this is about what it likes to the human eye as well. Like you can make out some of the plume shape there towards the tail of it with your naked eye, but it's about as bright as the sun, and we do not recommend you look at it directly if you're this close, especially because it is a very, very bright rocket, and so is anything else that burns, either solid rocket boosters and anything that runs on a Keralox mixture.
You say that, and yet we look at it through magnifying lenses, basically.
Yeah, but my R5 is mirrorless, so I'm looking at a screen and not through a mirror. So.
Oh no, I used to shoot with my Nikon mirror, looking directly at the night launches. Probably
Your eyes
shouldn't have.
functioning okay?
Yeah, I have problems with my hearing, not my eyes. That's fine.
What?
Exactly. You're not going to get me on that one. I know that joke too well.
Dang it.
Well, meantime, you can see now the rocket. This from the port. You were talking about getting back into Port Canaveral. This is down at the near jetty. There is You'll Thank Me Later in the foreground.
One of the most spooky images you can possibly see in spaceflight today, where it's SpaceX's future and SpaceX's current and soon to be past all in one frame.
So awesome. And a huge thank you again to Rusty's, by the way. That's where we have our fleet cameras out there getting the views you see in the port of all the ships coming in and out, of the boosters once they come back, offload them and start sending out the drone ships again. You can all see that on our Space Coast Live cameras, thanks to Rusty's. Also a good place to get a bite to eat out there. Now this is a view from the Launch Complex 39 press site. And that's the one thing about 40 from our vantage point there is, unless you're way down in the lawn near the countdown clock, your view is obstructed by the trees.
Of course. Yep. And these cameras are literally about 10 feet from me here because I'm currently on the roof of the hut here, as we call it, here at the press site. So a bit off the ground, but I'm about currently 2 stories off the ground, but there's still a tree line in the way, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, you get great views of 39A and B, since it is the Launch Complex 39 press site.
And Pad 41, mind you, as well. And Pad 41.
Yeah, I don't normally think of being able to see 41 from up there.
Well, not a lot happens from it too often. Sorry, ULA.
Hey, we want to see more ULA launches. Although, if you're not using the flame trench, we could always do a flame trench in the flame trench at 41. Just saying.
How epic would that be, actually?
It really would. And this is another one of our robotic cameras out there. They're out there checking all the time on work near the VAB, anything that comes in and out of the turn basin. And of course, we're checking with some of these cameras as well on the progress on the Cape Gigabay. So those are all things you can check out on our 24/7 feeds. And again, that glow that it just leaves in the sky. Love it.
Need more of it.
Cool. Let's get another view then.
Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Oh, nice.
Yes,
RTL aspect 40.
Yeah, all the launches, the landings are absolutely just replays of the original in reverse, right?
Yeah, they got us. Yeah.
Oh,
rocket launch. Yeah. Landings are just launches landings are just launches played in reverse. That's all it is.
I still can't believe that's a real thing that people have commented on our videos before. We say that jokingly. It has happened. It has happened. It is a conspiracy theory. But I can tell you, having been there for them, it's not.
I do have to say, like, the haze that's in the air right now and has been, like, certainly helped amplify the audio, yes, but also there was a brief vapor cone there as it passed through the cloud layer there. I mean, there was a little like ring, like it puffed, like right as it was going transonic there, which we can normally count on when it's this humid outside, especially towards the cloud layer. But it always makes the view just that much more pretty.
Oh yeah, and then this one of the tracking cameras, human operated.
I believe this is Jerry's. Wow.
I believe so. Yes, I should point out, even the robotically operated cameras are operated by people.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, sometimes they're remotely located, but yeah. So don't worry, it's not AI doing all this. All of our people are the ones operating it. I guess we'll find out if we have audio on this one or not.
I don't think we
not.
do.
Cool. So we'll talk over this one. Was that kind of the vapor cone that you were talking about there, or did I just do things?
Not yet. Like it's very brief. Like it'll be coming up hopefully. So, oh no, Jerry, get back. Yeah, right around here. I think. Wait for it.
Blame the bugs that started eating Jerry right as he was tracking that.
Bugs and also just passing through the cloud layer and messing with the exposure of the camera.
I thought I saw one earlier. I don't know.
I think I saw some vapor forming around the fairings there.
There it is.
Earlier.
There
we go. Yep.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And if you look on the right side of the screen, the transporter erector is going back to vertical after its lean back there, or throwback after launch. So cool.
Wow, it's coming up in real time. Look at this.
Yeah, these are both real speed, both the replay on the left and the live view on the right.
Look at that.
Would you look at that?
Would you just look at it?
And it's crazy that they raise it vertical all the way after launch, then just have to lower it horizontal to roll it back in to the horizontal integration facility, get the next rocket up and loaded and ready to go, which a reminder, the next Cape launch, still a little bit of a ways away, in SpaceX terms at least. The next one is Monday from Florida, 10:49 a.m. That's Starlink 10-19. You would know this also if you get the Next Spaceflight app or go to nextspaceflight.com. But I think with that is going to wrap up our launch coverage tonight. Stick around, though, for the DY slow-mo on the way out. Don't go bailing just yet on us. You made it this far. You're going to want to see the slow-mo. Max, thank you for joining me here on commentary.
It's been a pleasure, as always, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us on this very early morning here on the East Coast of the U.S. We know it's early, and we know you should either be asleep or be somewhere else. But thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us, and we will see you again very soon.
Absolutely. And Jerry Pike, as you mentioned, was the one with that track out there. We also have DY's slow motion, or DY's also being out there as well. And in fact, speaking of Jerry and D, I believe we will have a Jerry picture as well as the D slow-mo. There is the streak shot from Jerry Pike. You really see the haze in that too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I should thank the person putting them up on the screen. That's Jay Keegan, who's been pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, producing tonight's stream. I'm Sawyer Rosenstein. I've been your host for this Bluebird launch, and we will see you all on the next one. Let's watch some slow motion on the way out.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Traveling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.